Attention Sleepless Knights. Thank you for consuming this OSI 74 product broadcast, live from the Black Knight satellite. For optimum performance and safety, your host, Mr. Lobo, asks that you please listen to these instructions carefully. When in a hospital or other healthcare facility, observe the restrictions on the use of electronic devices. Switch off before boarding an aircraft to prevent interference with communications systems. Do not operate this device in the presence of flammable gases or fumes, chemical plants, or where blasting operations are in progress. Always listen hands-free while driving a vehicle. Failure to observe these instructions may lead to immediate termination. It's time now for the show to begin. Thank you. Have a very pleasant evening.
You're not dreaming, you're listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast. We're having a last time I think I was tired. Now I'm just sort of like pissed off and tired.
Tired
and
of being
angry
tired?
And depressed. Although they say depression is just anger without enthusiasm, right?
I don't know. I'd be more enthusiastic about that if I had the energy.
Paul and I have been talking a lot about publishing our content and making our shows available to you. And boy, is there a lot of interesting pitfalls, pratfalls, pains in the arse. Can we say arse?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Gotta watch P's and Q's. And arses, I guess.
We're having an interesting time. We got 2 copyright strikes this morning. I guess we can talk about this on our Vimeo account.
For the Vimeo account, it's not like YouTube. You do get a version of Vimeo for free, but for what we use it for, you have to pay for it. It's not like YouTube. It's not like Dailymotion or anything else. You have to pay to be there.
Yeah.
So for a copyright strike there, it's kind of a little...
And it's frustrating because, honestly, we're just trying to make our content available to as many people as possible. We get the, you get the notice, they give you a strike. If you get 3 strikes, your entire channel disappears, which is what happened to me with YouTube years ago with Cinema Insomnia. I think we had 40 episodes uploaded, and uploading those 2-hour episodes in 2005 or whenever that was a lot to do, to have it just disappear for a few erroneous claims. The one was a movie that's kind of like one of those orphaned films that you see on the 50 movie packs, that's pretty much thought of as sort of like abandoned, orphaned works kind of thing. And that stuff is, sometimes that's due diligence, and sometimes, they do a Blu-ray restoration or something, and they don't want other people putting out that content, or they think that we're just ripping somebody's Blu-ray restoration and putting it up there. So I can understand that. And that was from Kino Lorber, and they seem like nice people when I talked to them today. And then the other one was from Wade Williams for Plan 9, our version of Plan 9. Now, granted, on our version of Plan 9, we're showing it with Hardware Wars, and it's all cut up out of sequence, and it has a bunch of interstitials with me and Ernie Facilius, the director of Hardware Wars. So it's not just a straight copy of somebody's restored movie. This is our own 16 millimeter print of Plan 9 that we used. And it's presented as part of commentary and satire and part of our show, but also Plan 9 is one of those movies where it's thought to be public domain. And there's some varying opinions on that. In the 1980s, Wade Williams renewed the copyright from Plan 9 from Outer Space, even though he didn't direct the film or make the film, but he befriended the widow of Ed Wood. So I don't know if she signed something over to him or he has something that says that he owns it. But it's one of those things that for a long time, it was just accepted that Wade Williams owned Plan 9 from outer space. And then that was kind of what do you call it? It was solidified or validated when the Ed Wood Tim Burton film came out. And I think Disney or Touchstone gives the credit of the rights to Plan 9 from outer space to Wade Williams. But that being said, the movie has been released on a million, free cheapy labels, and they put out a color version of Plan 9 that Wade Williams had nothing to do with. And there have been plays and the remake that I was in. And so any sort of repurposed version, I believe, it comes out of the jurisdiction of what Wade Williams trademarked. But all that is not super important to the story, other than it is somewhat disputable, and we're not using Wade's print for our version. So what I had to do is, okay, now we woke up this morning, we've got 2 strikes. If we get one more strike, our entire Vimeo account disappears. And I think there's maybe over 800 videos on there, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a lot of work to just, and Aaron is here with milkshakes. Hi, Aaron. This is how we deal with our pain.
Where's
here.
my milkshake?
Well, you're gonna have to come get it, Paul.
But I'm lost in space.
I know. We'll freeze it. We'll freeze it for you.
Can you mail it to me?
They might be some. We'll put it out we'll launch it up to you. We'll put it in a satellite and launch it up there.
You'll send it up through SpaceX.
SpaceX will take care of you. Yes, Elon Musk will get your shake to you.
I'll be upset if the shake tastes musky.
Oh no. Nobody wants a musky shake.
No.
Okay. Wow.
I just wanted to interject quick too about like the Vimeo is that it's shared amongst producers, so it's not just Cinema Insomnia content that's on there. There's Bestow TV's content. There's Sleazy P Martini.
Oh yeah, a million other things.
It's not affecting Cinema Insomnia specifically. It's affecting all the producers that produce for OSI.
Right, all the producers that produce for OSI. And then recently, Liam from our friend Liam in Australia, who's been redoing the website, he's been actually using the Vimeo to try to mirror the experience of watching the show on Roku. So the people who want to watch our content online can just go to the website, because Vimeo honestly is kind of hard to navigate for a viewing experience. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people watch OSI's content on Vimeo. And so, yeah, so it does affect everybody. You know, Paul's stuff is on there. The podcast, we have the podcast on there, and we're serving the podcast to the Roku from Vimeo. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it does affect us. So anyhow, so I wrote 2 very nice letters today, at least trying to be nice, saying, look, you know, we're all friends here. You know, if you have objection to this content, I'm happy to take it down voluntarily. If you could somehow see your way clear to remove the strike. You know, we won't re-upload it. You know, we'll just forget about it. And you know, because obviously we don't want to lose our whole channel over this. And you know, if we infringed upon you, it was unintentional, and we're sorry. So that's the gist of that. In both cases, it's someone who's reaching out to us on behalf of someone else, so they can't make the decision ultimately. So we kind of have to. I have a lot more work to do tomorrow to actually call the actual entities in question and try to see if someone will be kind enough to just release the strike on those 2 videos. And of course, we won't be uploading the new content. We will be compliant in not using their content. But, to not put the whole rest of the thing at risk. And that got Paul and I talking about how difficult it is to even give content away. I mean, much less trying to make money off of our content. We're just trying to make it free and available for people to see. In the case of the Cinema Insomnia episode, that was an episode I did with Ernie Fosilius. He lives in California now. I live in Pennsylvania. We have his film Hardware Wars that we did get direct permission to use as part of that episode. There's 40 minutes or more, 45 minutes of content on there that's not Plan 9 from Outer Space that is going to not be watchable by anyone because of this strike. But the worst thing is that we could potentially just lose our entire Vimeo channel. And we're not charging for this episode for people to watch. I'm not sure what kind of damages there are. We were also talking about how Amazon, I have 4 episodes of Cinema Insomnia up on Amazon. I also have 19 episodes up on Amazon UK. It's for whatever reason, they're approved a lot faster in the UK than they are for the United States. That's a whole nother story. We've got that content up there and, 4 episodes plus 19 episodes, and we're only making, like $20 a month. I think they pay like $1 per hour viewed, or excuse me, not $1, a penny. I wish it were $1. God, $1, a penny per hour viewed on Amazon. And so, it's another situation to where even if we had 95 episodes up there, we probably wouldn't, we probably would only make at maximum a couple $100 a month, I would think. And so it is a frustration. We're going to talk about it more when we come back. This is a kind of a spontaneous podcast where we were having a hot discussion and we thought, why don't we just turn the microphones on? And that's what we did, and we'll be back.
We come from the retro future. We want you to be nostalgic for what's to come. A new channel and distribution network for smart people with bad taste, featuring content from Church of the Subgenius, Creature Features, Cinema Insomnia, Sleazy P. Martini and Guar, Troma, Corey Maccabee, horror, sci-fi, Saturday morning cartoons, midnight movies, and assorted trash we love. Add our channel OSI74 to your Roku player or visit OSI74.com. All systems go.
This is Mr. Lobo. We are back with more bitching and complaining. I mean, middle-aged guys complaining. That's what a good podcast is all about.
I think it's bitching, complaining, and drinking.
Is that bitching, complaining?
I mean, you're drinking the milkshake, and I just have the Crystal Lake water here, and that's all I have. So
Camp Crystal Lake.
Yes, yeah.
I didn't realize you still had cases of that up there, Paul.
I think it's recycled. I don't think it's actual the original water anymore. It'd be too old.
So ultimately, for us to have our series on Amazon Prime is making us a very nominal amount of money per episode that's up there. It's really only up there as a commercial. That's really ultimately something that I just sort of write off as like, okay, people will see us here, know who we are, the kind of content we make, and that's one more fan that is activated. And really, ultimately, my goal with everything is to just be as seen in as many places as possible, just so that it can kind of raise our real estate and make our project more viable.
Well, there's almost a kind of a status to be on Amazon Prime too, because when Bestow TV had stuff on there, and we used to hand out cards that had where you can locate the shows and everything. People would get excited when they would see Amazon Prime on there, like, oh yeah, I can see this with Amazon and everything. They got super stoked about it. But it was it was the same deal with you. It's just like, I just want to throw it out there. It's not really as much as the making money as much as it's getting the eyeballs on the project and feeling that people can be flipping through Amazon Prime and actually see our title cards or something like that and be interested enough to click on it might be a little bit more incentive than all the stuff that's on YouTube, because, of course, Amazon's a little bit more regulated than like YouTube.
Right, and Amazon is not. There's a series of requirements that you need to meet to even be on Amazon, whereas anything can be uploaded to YouTube. Right. So there is some prestige to be even being on there, and again, since everybody's on there clicking through the content, the sheer number of people. Maybe they won't even watch you on Amazon, but they'll be aware of who you are and your brand.
Right. Especially if they see it enough times. If you've got enough content on there, they say you need to at least have an object up there for a minimum of 3 times for it to sink into memory.
So, something like that. I've always heard there was you have to make 9 impressions before somebody decides whether.
And the only problem with Amazon is starting to become like the rest of it, where it's only a matter of time before the floor falls out on that, before it becomes the next, becomes like super regulated like YouTube or Vimeo, or you might just automatically lose stuff, because that's kind of what happened with me with Bestow TV, where it's just like one day they decide that they just want to get rid of an entire segment. So it wasn't making them enough money, that they weren't getting enough clicks, that they just deep sixed it.
Oh, so where did they say something like they weren't doing? They didn't want to do music videos anymore.
They got rid of music videos. So unless
but they do have music videos.
But they do have music videos, and if you go on there, the music video category is still listed. You just automatically get flagged and kicked off.
I see.
And it was just kind of annoying. And then the other aspects too, was I was trying to put a lot of the interviews up there. And one of the gates that you have to go through to get on Amazon, I mean, Lobo knows this, but for the rest of you guys, this may be your first podcast, as Stan Lee says, or was it Jack Burton?
Kirby?
Oh, Jack Kirby.
Jack Burton says, our old friend Jack. You know how Jack Burton says.
Yes, on the Pork Chop Express.
It's like that's right. With every podcast is your first podcast.
But like one of the gates that's there is you can't put videos up unless they have subtitles. So, Mr. Lobo did a huge fundraiser to get subtitles for his work. My stuff is a little bit shorter, so I just picked and choose. I went through and decided what was more, what was going to generate more traffic than something else, and just, dove into my pockets and just paid for it out of my pockets to get it done. My understanding, I don't know if this is true or not, so don't take my word on this, but my understanding is that it's run by volunteers. It's pretty much like Internet Movie Database, which is also owned by Amazon.
Interesting. I did not know that. I didn't know that Internet Movie Database is owned by Amazon now. Yeah. That's very strange.
So that's all. I think Internet Movie Database is all. That's all fans and all volunteers and stuff that kind of monitor that and keep that going. And I think that the Amazon Prime stuff is kind of the same way, that they kind of do that. And you kind of get stuck with somebody. You get stuck with one person who doesn't like something, and you could end up in a huge argument with somebody over something really stupid. And then, the next time you go on, it'll flip over to somebody different and they'll have no problems with it. And then they'll go back to a third person who will be like, oh, well, this is fine and this is fine, but that third thing over there is wrong and this is why that can't go up. So there's all these people that are trying to limit what's going on there. And I had put all this money and effort into putting these videos up there. Mighty Morphin Power Ranger interviews. I put every single one of those up there. Not a single one of them went live because they all got flagged for various reasons. The most common reason was I didn't contact Saban and ask them if it was okay to interview these people and have these people on. And it's like, wow. Really? Like, that's what's preventing this?
That doesn't make any sense, especially when they're granting interviews. The assumption would be that those interviews would end up somewhere.
All the stuff got flagged originally is because I have the Bestow TV website at the end. I had when somebody speaks and they say visit my website, or they say visit me on Twitter, or visit my Facebook. If I put there at whatever at Karen Ashley or at Austin St. John or whatever, if I put any of that up there, they don't want any URLs that take you away from Amazon Prime. So anything that has a URL or anything that links to social media, that all has to be removed. I had like credits that had all that stuff up there for years. That all got flagged because that all had to be removed. You can't have any of that, because even though you're doing a real life interview with a real life person, and you're trying to promote interaction within their fans. Well, no, that they have to find all that themselves. You can't have that. I think one person flagged it because I think like Austin St. John may have actually said his website. And somebody flagged it because the URL was still spoken.
Oh, God. Don't the credits of movies have URLs in them?
I don't know.
I mean, when it's like
Panaflex
Panaflex lenses or whatever, and then they've got the website for Panaflex or whatever.
I mean, the difference is that's Hollywood, and the rest of it seems to be the rest of us. That's the way I feel about it. I feel like if I was Sony, there would be no issues. If I was Disney, if I was Warner Brothers, I'd have zero issues. And I have a feeling that because of Disney, Warner Brothers, so on and so forth, those major studios, I think is why those issues are there, because they want to control that too.
Yeah, barrier to entry. I think all the closed captioning and all that is a barrier to entry, because obviously they don't have that in the UK as a barrier to be on the air. And I'm not against that, but I feel like it's used as a vice. Like, oh, what, you hate deaf people? It's like, no, I don't hate deaf people. It's just that I can't afford to produce this show and produce these captions.
Well, I think like the closed captioning thing, I know with like YouTube, YouTube and Facebook highly suggest that you use closed captioning because viewers who are watching their content may be on the bus or on the subway and may not have headphones on or whatever, or can't listen to it. So they want it so that they watch their videos with the captioning on.
A lot of people who watch on their phones and stuff just watch the video with the sound off.
Right.
Yeah.
So that they can actually still be interactive. So they don't want you to exclude them.
If it was about just accessibility, you'd think they would require descriptive service too for the blind. But they don't require that.
Right.
So yeah, it's an interesting thing. And like I said, I mean, I wish I could easily afford closed captioning and descriptive servicing and whatever other means there are to make my shows as accessible to as many people around the world as possible. I'd love it translated into every single language so that everyone could hear it. But if it became a requirement to have it translated into every single language and a requirement for every single video to be closed captioned for the hearing impaired and descriptive service for the blind, and however many other ways that you can do that, having a secondary closed captions where the captions are larger for people who can't see very well and are also deaf. I mean, how far can you take that? It's like, yes, all of those things are wonderful, but then that completely eliminates a lot of lower end producers from their content ever being seen by anyone.
Right. And another thing is that you were saying about like translations and everything. Another video that I had put up was this woman had come, she was known, it's Romy Park. So she's known for doing like voiceovers for Full Metal Alchemist and a lot of the anime stuff that comes over here to America. So she's the original voice actress, and then when it comes over to America, of course, we redub it with English actors. But the content was specifically for American otaku, people who are in America who enjoy that kind of stuff. And I had put that up there, and I had taken the time to she's speaking in her native language, which is not English. And what I had done is I had her up the whole time, and then I would edit out the translator. But then what I would do is then I would just write down the translator's words, and when she spoke, I would just put the translator's words underneath her. So she's speaking, and the English subtext is underneath it.
Yeah, which her audience would definitely appreciate.
Right. I mean, you're talking about like there's like a divide with the anime fans where they prefer hearing it in the original voice with the subtitles underneath it versus the American translation because there's stuff lost.
Subs versus dubs, all that which is a whole nother podcast.
Yes.
Yes.
So the first time it got flagged was it couldn't be played in Japan because the subtitles weren't in Japanese.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, all right, well, then don't play it in Japan. That's fine. I'll just pull the plug on that. And then it couldn't be played in America or the UK because she wasn't speaking English, even though the subtitles were in translated.
Oh, wow.
And that was a big go around where it's like, well, this is, so they were telling me it's like, it could only be played in Japan. It couldn't be played in the United States. And I'm like, this is made for a U.S. audience. I mean, it's made for a worldwide audience, but she is specifically talking to the U.S. audience. She is specifically talking to her United States fans and telling her experiences to us. And to sit there and kind of generalize it where it's like, well, she's not speaking English, therefore we can't air this here because nobody would watch that.
That's so insane of a requirement, because how many documentaries are they interviewing, some Holocaust survivor or something that only speaks German, and they've got them closed caption. Right. I mean, again, I feel like it's just this thing where it's just this unrealistic barrier. And what do you really have to gain? Not much, pennies to gain. Mm-hmm. And those guys are just the gatekeepers of your content, and it's extremely, extremely frustrating. I mean, it's like, I mean, for us right now, at least for me, the two things that actually make a difference content-wise is the Patreon stuff, the Cinema Insomnia Patreon, OSI Patreon, Sleepless Knights Patreon. And then whatever merchandising we could sell, which is another good reason why we really need to get on the ball with some stickers for this podcast, Paul. A mug and a sticker and a T-shirt and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, my pod would look really nice with some stickers on the back on that bumper. I was just out there the other day scraping off the barnacle, so there's some nice space on the ship
for your space in space.
Yes.
Yes, again, I right now, of all the things that we're doing, all the places we're available, we're on YouTube, we're on Amazon, we're on Vimeo, we're on Roku, all these places where our content is available. The only place where it really actually benefits us and puts money in our pocket is either through merchandising or from good folks like you who are listening on Patreon or just supporting us on Patreon. And we will be back with more Sleepless Nights after this.
Merchandising.
Welcome to a night of total terror. Night of the living dead. The dead who live on living flesh. The dead whose haunted souls hunt the living. The living whose bodies are the only food for these ungodly creatures. Of the living dead, more threatening than your strangest nightmare.
And we're back with more Sleepless Nights of Insomnia. We talked a little bit about having the stuff on Amazon, which again is about a penny an hour when you're watching it for us. We talked about watching it on YouTube. I don't even dare monetize. I mean, although your stuff is monetized on YouTube, right, Paul?
The Bestow TV stuff is monetized. The Mr. Lobo stuff that I monitor isn't.
We can't even monetize it yet, right? Because until we get 1,000 hours or
4,000 hours. We're only at 500.
So we've had 500 hours of listening on the Mr. Lobo YouTube. We have 1,000 subscribers, and we won't be able to monetize until we reach 4,000.
4,000 hours within 12 months with a 12-month sphere.
Within a 12-month sphere.
So that's always rolling. So that's always rolling over. So
that's beautiful. And you have a channel. You are monetizing on YouTube. And you're making big money, right? I mean, what are you making? Like $50 a month?
I wish.
You wish.
Take that and divide that over 12 months.
So you want $50 a year?
A little bit more, double that.
Okay, so $100 a year.
Uh-huh.
So across how many videos do you have on there?
I think the last time I looked, there was like something like 300 to 400 videos.
Okay, 300 to 400 videos.
I mean, you keep in mind that some of those videos, I had to make changes, so some of those videos are private. They're not for public consumption anymore and stuff like that.
Yeah. So let's say
it's almost 5 years worth of content.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's be conservative and say you've got what 300 videos.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay, and you make $100 a year from YouTube, right? So that is what, a third of a dollar per video per year. So 33 cents a year per every video you have?
Something like that.
Would be the average?
Something like that. I don't know.
So your work is worth 33 cents a year.
Yeah.
Spend $400 producing a video, and then you make 33 cents a year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what I went to college for. Yay, Art Institute of Philadelphia, which is no longer in existence. Which brings to question of whether or not my diploma is in existence.
So they robbed you also.
Yes.
Well, they were trying to teach you something by robbing you.
Yes.
Because they were trying to get you ready for the world by stealing money out of your pocket.
Make my raw.
No. Speaking of made our raw, well, yeah. So we're a little raw today. We got a lot of tender flesh on us today. We just said before the break that our big thing is merchandising, and then our other hope is to just try to find new platforms where the shows can be viewed and enjoyed without being restricted. I mean, even with doing the watch parties every Saturday night, we've been having a lot of problems with it not allowing us to have too many people, or certain people can't see it, or we can only invite 50 people. I've actually been banned right now from inviting any more people to the Mr. Lobo Cinema Insomnia fans group. I don't know why. It suggests like a handful of people daily that on my friends list that might be interested in joining the group.
I think that there's a limit on how many people you can invite, and then that's it. Because I invite people like Bestow TV and everything, and I think I'm at my limit. I think it's like you can only invite like maybe a total of 1,000. And that's it. And if they don't accept, I think that counts against you and everything else. So I think in like Bestow TV's case, I have to go down and uncheck. If there's people that I've invited and they're just been there for years, you just remove them. And I think it frees up some space that you can reinvite it. But I don't understand why there's a limit to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they're people from your friends list, because honestly, anyone who was a friend of Mr. Lobo on Facebook is probably a fan of the show and would be interested in joining my group. Mm-hmm. So, you think you could just wholesale invite anybody on your friends list, everyone on your friends list, to join your group. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, that being said, I'm not able to invite any more people to the group, and we're really close to our goal of having 3,000 fans in the Mr. Lobo Mr. Lobo's Cinema Insomnia fans.
That sounds like something I should put an echo on. Can you say that again, more dramatic?
All right. Mr. Lobo's Cinema Insomnia fans group.
Good. Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah.
All right. Is that more dramatic?
Gal, get on that.
Copy that.
This is a situation where it's like we're limited to the amount of people we can invite to a video that we're streaming. People get kicked out of it all the time. People can't see it, or it's just this weird thing of like, maybe we have 50 to 70 people watching in the watch party on a Saturday night. And Aaron and I, we do new content for the cut-ins for the Saturday night watch party. We're showing 2 Cinema Insomnia episodes back to back. And every week people are like, when's the watch party starting? Or how do I find it? And it's like, it's pinned to the top of the, to the group, and they still can't see it sometimes. So it's very, very weird, the whole situation of it. And you wonder how limiting it is. I'm not that, I mean,
and my philosophy. It's shared to your pages, it's shared to my pages, and everybody else that's come in there.
So, I feel like 50 to 70 people watching all at once on Facebook is worthwhile. I'm not trying to complain about that because, to be honest, I know that like a lot of my other horror hosts, friends, some of them who've been kicked off of the channel, which we won't speak of. That's a whole nother story. But a lot of horror host fans are like, I don't want to do these things because there's hardly anybody in there. My philosophy is that this is an opportunity to make myself available to my fans. This is not a alternative or a replacement for broadcasting. It is not an alternative or a replacement for distributing my show. It is just like for me sitting in a watch party for 6 hours on Saturday night is tantamount or the same as sitting behind a convention table at a convention and just being there and being available for my fans. So in this time of chronic diarrhea, I have been looking at the watch parties as not a supplement of how to watch the show, but a supplement of how to connect to the fans in the absence of events and conventions.
In real time.
In real time. And what's nice about it is that, we do get sales from that. I mean, we do get support from that. We get people joining our Patreon. Did we get any new patrons since the podcast aired as part of the watch party?
Since the podcast aired, we only got one new subscriber, one new Patreon. But we had like two right prior before, like the day before it aired.
But I feel like even if that got us one new patron, it was worth jamming in there before the watch party started.
Right.
I think that it's definitely helped us to have that connection to the fans and to try to be as open and available as possible. Because I do feel like people feel like they're shut out and shut in. and anything that can kind of help people feel more connected is going to be valued right now. So I'm trying to make myself more available. I'm glad we're doing these podcasts again. I think that it's definitely something that people get a lot out of. And then, to be honest, I get a lot out of it. I think I need to have something like this to do every week, or I would probably go crazy.
Right. And this is a different type of content, and this is almost less restrictive. Because I had said before recording where it's like, we produced a commercial for the podcast where it's like, where do we send traffic? Where do we send everybody to find this? And there's bajillion different outlets. Since we started this in 2017, we're on like so many different outlets that that we kind of did it with tongue in cheek, where it's like, oh, here's all the places that you can find us in. We were actually running that as a little bit of an advertisement to try to get people who, we've already said that, people in the circle sometimes don't know about these things. So you got the people in the circle, but get those people outside the circle as well. And after only running it 3 days, I'm like, you know what? As well and good as it is that we're on Apple and Google and YouTube and so on and so forth, that I think at the end of the day, I think it's the Patreon that's the most important, because you kind of got immediate results. They're kind of they're right away talking to you and telling you what they like, what they don't like. Everything else is just an empty void. I don't know who's playing what's getting downloaded. According to our last stats, the last episode that we uploaded, 20 people only listened to 3 seconds of the video of the podcast, and it's like, how's that possible? Like, how do you listen to only 3 seconds? How did all those people only listen to 3 seconds? And I just feel like the data is all like kind of screwed up, because how do they, if they download it to their device, how are any of these things monitoring if they're listening? And it's just like, I'd rather just do the Patreon. You don't really have to deal with the hurdles too much of like the copyright. It's like, we still want to police ourselves and kind of not go too crazy and give you a bunch of stuff that's not ours.
due diligence, try our best, of course.
But
we still have to communicate.
Right. If we're making a joke about Groundhog's Day, and I want to put in a clip about Groundhog's Day that supports that joke, I don't want to have to jump through 50 damn hoops just for that, just to get that joke out there.
Yeah.
Because it just kills the day of editing, where it's like I gotta sit there and edit something, encode a sample of that, upload it to YouTube to check if it gets flagged, because YouTube's the only one that tells me if it's going to get flagged or not. If I put it on iTunes or Google, well, the whole episode just disappears, and nobody ever tells you anything. They don't send you an email or anything. It just disappears. And it's just like, I kind of don't want to deal with that hassle. Like, it's just like there's just so many gatekeepers that it's just I'd rather just directly serve the people that want this than have to splash everything.
We have these services that we're making commercials for and stuff, and then we're only making like $1,
a penny,
a penny, so at least this is like, it's a more substantial payout. Not that we're trying to be mercenary here, because this is the joke I always say. It's like, if it was only just about making money, we'd be doing something a lot smarter than this.
Right.
We're trying to, find the people who really care about this and who really listen and who really want to support it. And Patreon is the best place so far that we've found that has allowed us to do that. And why put all this other attention? Why keep throwing out the net wider and wider and wider when there's a core of people who already see the value in the content that we may be overlooking or short-sighting?
Mm-hmm. And it's not that we're subtracting. It's not like we're never going to stop. We're going to just stop doing Apple, and we're going to stop doing Google. I mean, there are people that prefer their platforms and everything else. But it's just that Patreon, I feel, not even necessarily the financial aspect, it is that should come first in the line of everything else.
I mean, it's definitely a more direct and more satisfying than any of the other outlets that we're working with right now. Not that Patreon's perfect. Patreon's got its problems too.
I remember that first and second month of Patreon, trying to figure it out on our end, and it's like, what am I looking at here? What is this? I don't understand this data.
Yeah, and I know I owe some people some rewards and stuff on some of the other Patreon things, and I need to. And every once in a while, I put that, and I'll put that out to you now. If I owe you a sticker or something, please contact me and let me know, because a lot of times it's very confusing for me to figure out who I need to send rewards to and who I don't.
Do that. Get on that.
I will. I'm mailing stickers tonight.
Right now.
So email me. Give me your address. I'll get your sticker out to you.
I'm at 1 space road space 194 sector Z.
Okay, got it. I'm writing it down now. Yep. Mm-hmm. There's no apartment or box number that goes with that?
I think it's just pod number 4.
Okay. All right.
With 2 Ds.
But it is frustrating because, it's very hard to keep track of all the people you got to mail things to, all the people you have to communicate with, all the people, all of the managing of platforms and social media. And really, there's just not enough energy being put in writing shows, producing shows, creating content. I mean, I feel like most of my work is all this stuff. We had the whole podcast about this already, but most of the work is licking stamps and checking emails and not doing the thing that I do best, whatever that is. So, Paul, where are we at time-wise?
We're about 3 minutes over. I'm waiting for you to wrap. That's why I've been silent on my end.
I see.
As I'm like, he must be getting close to the end, because if I...
Mr. Lobo's totally blown it as far as missing our cues, but that's par for the course. I'm the worst. don't know why, because I feel like I can. Aaron's cues I was picking up okay. I wish we could have the music come in. I wish we could actually have the music play in my ear.
Well, it's there right now.
Dun 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 dun. I hear it now. Okay.
You just have to imagine it.
We'll be back with more of this bullshit.
Hey, Mr. Lobo.
Oh, Paul, what's up?
I have a question here about this memo that I got from you. It says that Bestow TV now needs a commercial.
Oh, whoever wrote that should get fired, I think.
I'm not quite sure what to put into said commercial.
For Bestow TV, I mean, you just talk about your channel.
Like creative continuity and its sister show, bonus content?
Right, all the convention culture and the interviews with celebrities and all that stuff, sure.
Well, I guess I could also mention the cosplay montages, costumes.
Costumes, right. Astonishing cosplay montage set to an epic soundtrack.
I guess there's convention rewind, too.
Those are great. We've run those on OSI 74.
So I guess that's all I need, so I guess I'll have to...
Are you sure? Because I think there's one other show that you produced for a Bestow.
I don't know what you're talking about.
With Mr. Lobo.
Yeah, what
that
about
we
it?
do together, the thing that we do. Remember all those videos we did?
Oh, like Mr. Lobo does.
Yes, Mr. Lobo does, of course.
That's awesome. I'm going to get right on this, and I'm going to write up the script.
Hey, wait, Paul. You forgot to tell him to go to bestow.tv. Idiot.
We're back with the grumpiest and most desperate and pathetic episode we've ever produced, I think. What do you think, Paul?
I think we should title this episode "Walk of Shame."
Hang your head, podcaster. I don't want to make people sad. I just want to make people happy. And it's just like everything is against you. If you are a mirth maker, you are public enemy number one. Everybody wants to shut you down if you try to do anything that's not cynical. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. It's just if your business isn't human ugliness, we don't want it. Mm. But I just feel like it's a fight every day. It's a fight every day just to keep the content up there and chugging. I have some of my stuff is behind a paywall and I have DVDs and stuff. But honestly, I feel like my stuff isn't that well known enough to put behind a high paywall.
Right.
I'm still trying to build up my name and my, get the material out there and try to build that audience.
And how long have you been building this? I know the magic number. I don't know if you want to share it.
Well, I've been doing this show for 19 years.
Yep, there it is.
But I do feel like, there's definitely been highs and lows in that time period, but I definitely feel like there's reaping and sowing. I don't at this point have a national network like Svengoolie or a huge streaming channel like Shudder behind what I'm doing. So, right now it's like I'm just trying to get our content out to as many people as possible to
circulate those tapes.
Circulate the tapes, and it worked for Mystery Science Theater because honestly, I mean that was a pretty low level show, and it got their reputation got so large from the fandom. I mean, if you're down in the trenches with the fans and you're good to the fans, and you support that fandom can really take care of you. And that happened with Mystery Science Theater. I mean, the keep circulating the tapes thing, that's why they were able to raise $12 million or whatever on Kickstarter, is because they gave it away for free for so long, now, of course, I think they don't want you circulating those tapes anymore. They'll shut you down right away.
They're gonna hate you with a cease and desist.
Yeah, you get your check mark, you get your copyright strike.
Copyright strike. Well, Metallica did that too. That's how Metallica got. They circulated their cassette tapes, and that's how they kind of made their origins.
Their name, right? Yeah. I mean, famously, the Grateful Dead just allowed people to record their concerts, and that I don't think that hurt them. I think that made their legend grow. Made their legend grow. You know, I mean, Night of the Living Dead, which is famously public domain. I mean, that was something that just was out in the ether and was played on every late night TV channel for Halloween, and put out on 1 million DVDs. And that thing is folklore now. It's legendary. I mean, everyone's seen Night of the Living Dead, and there's a huge amount of, the real estate of that name, Night of the Living Dead, is huge. And that was not a big movie. That was a small movie that went huge because of the fan support and the fan reaction to it. And now you can't even give it away.
No.
What is this world coming to?
Well, you could give it away as long as it's the original one and none of the remakes, right?
I guess that, yes. Where do we go from here, Paul? What's for the future? What do we do?
Just what is the phrase? You just make more stuff.
Yeah, more stuff.
I think that was a phrase that was coined a couple of years ago. I think isn't that the OSI model? It's just more stuff. More stuff.
Yeah. Then we kicked that guy off the channel. Oh boy.
It sucks. It's like one of those things where you kind of got to vent and you got to rant and everything. But at the end of the day, we end up just keep moving forward anyway. We rant and vent and we turn around and decide, hey, we need an episode today. Let's turn on the recorder and just record it and make a negative into a positive. Get something out there. And people want to know. Yeah, people want to know how it is being a entertainment producer and stuff like that, especially from an independent end. It's like, we're no James Cameron or George Lucas or Steven Spielberg or any of those kind of types, but it's like this is the exact opposite end of the spectrum. And what it's really
I always wonder, like, where's the next Steven Spielberg or James Cameron or George Lucas even going to come from? I think that things are so different today and so fragmented that I almost feel like we need to just start completely over and have a totally different means of distributing content. But we did turn a negative into a positive. We did turn it around. We had a lot of lemons and we made lemonade. I always love that phrase people say, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But my complaint was always, yes, but that's assuming that life is also giving you sugar and water.
Right.
Yeah. Right. We've got plenty of lemons. But we also get a lot of sugar. We get a lot of sugar and we get a lot of water, especially from the fans. I don't think we could do this today without fan support. And it doesn't matter anyway if the fans can't get behind it. I mean, we're doing it for an audience, so we are doing it for you. So I am glad that the audience, that we do have an audience that will support this. But it is interesting because it is extremely hard to grow an audience in this climate,
especially with lemons and no water and no soil.
No soil.
I don't know how you grow. How do you grow?
We got lots of fertilizer though.
Full of fertilizer, up to our eyes in fertilizer.
Yeah.
A lot of chronic diarrhea.
Tons of it. We got to keep going. We got to keep doing what we do because, at the end of the day, we love it. We want to keep doing it. And, I always feel bad for people who are like, I can't find a way to make money doing this, so I'm just going to quit. And it's like, well, okay, there's two sides to that. It's like the person you're hurting the most is yourself. The world will go on without you making content. But I do feel like a creative person needs to create, and you don't know what you can do and you don't know what opportunities there will be for you if you just do nothing. That's a guaranteed failure, is doing nothing. And I'm really fortunate of all the doors that have opened for me and the things that I've done and the people I've met and the opportunities I've had. And, it is frustrating that we can't get it out there as much as we want to, But I think everyone's in that boat. I don't think that we're unique in that regard. But it does seem like the big boys have kind of a chokehold on the distribution of media.
Right. And it's like if you want to go around Amazon or YouTube or Vimeo or all that stuff, like where do you really go? Like I guess the next step is that we do downloads from our website or something like that. But then, at least with YouTube and Amazon and Vimeo, people trip over that stuff. People have to be initiated to want to go hit a download or go to your website if you're not as well cycled as that.
That's the thing. Yeah, like because we were having our problems with our Facebook watch parties. It's like we had like fans were like, oh yeah, we should just do it on the dark web and invite everybody to come watch it over there. We'll have full control over it. We could just show whatever movies we want and blah blah blah. And it's like, listen, buddy, first of all, there'd be 6 people who'd follow us to the dark web. Not that I really want to be on there with all the, child murderers and white slavery and whatever.
Get mailed a toe, don't know why. Do this in an unboxing video. It's a toe.
I got another toe. Great. Did any of them match?
I think they're different tones.
Okay.
Two-tone toes.
Two-tone toes. That's Two-Tone Toes Productions. Maybe we should just start another company.
Or a band.
I love how people always say, oh, my rock band is called this. It's like, what, you've got like 200 rock bands now. I feel like, you could...
Stop calling me out.
You could have a name of an album. It could be track through, what the names of the different songs, or you don't have to save them. You don't have to change your name for your rock band so many times. Anyway, where were we talking about, Paul? I'm totally lost. It is one of those things like every day is like, oh, have you tried being on, caffeine? Have you tried being on D+? Have you tried being on, Twitch? Have you tried being on, and it's just like, how many things do I have to try?
And it gets to be a headache to run all that shit too.
It's just like, I'm only one man. I'm 50 years old. It's like, I don't have the mental bandwidth. I barely have the mental bandwidth to sit in a rocking chair and be funny.
And that's what a 50-year-old does. Except for the funny part.
Yeah, sit in a rocking chair.
Maybe and smell funny.
Making lemonade and soil in my pants.
Ew. Gross.
Gross. Yeah, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And maybe I'm not as sharp as I used to be. But I don't know if we just need to activate some of our fans to be interns or something, which also never seems to work. Every time we try to, I'm just bad at delegating, obviously. But whenever I try to give something to an intern, it doesn't ever seem to pan out.
You've tuned in to the Midlife Crisis podcast.
The Midlife Crisis podcast.
Next week we talk about buying a sports car.
But it's like, I'm trying to self-examine here. It's like, why do I feel so stuck? It's like, I've got a roof over my head. I'm able to record my own radio audio program with you. I have a TV show that I can produce and make. So, I'm not that repressed. I mean, I'm doing better than someone who is, doesn't know where their next meal is coming from, or lives in a shoebox, in a dark alley or something, a refrigerator box maybe. Your shoebox might be too small.
That sounds like a good note to go out on. Because you haven't been watching my cues again.
Oh. This is why I can't get anywhere, is because I don't know how to follow any cues.
Where's that intern? Damn it, they're fired.
The intern could just tap me on the shoulder.
Time for your pudding, Mr. Lobo.
That's right. I'm still making lemonade.
Tapioca.
Oh. Anyway, we hope you're having a better day than the day we're having over here today. But we promise you next time it's going to be real fun, right, Paul? Next episode we're gonna jam the yucks up just for you guys. We'll put all these dark web feelings in a shoebox full of.
I kind of pity the idea that we probably given people ideas to start sending us toes, and I have a feeling that's going to start showing up in the next few weeks.
That'll be the next running gag, is Mr. Lobo getting a toe in the mail.
Well, it's not a running gag until you finish the foot.
And maybe that's the note to go out on. This is two bitchy old guys from Two Tone Toes Productions.
Sponsored by Rogaine.
Saying goodbye forever.
You have been listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast, or should we say pODDcast.
pODDcast.
Emphasis on the odd. Our theme is by Mars Homeworld at Dead House Music. Our opening announcement is by Ophelia Necro. She does a radio show called Suicide Watch. And you could reach Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com, or find me on YouTube, YouTube/Mr. Lobo, MISTERLOBO. Mr. Lobo on Facebook, Facebook/MR.LOBO, or on Twitter, at Mr. Lobo, MISTERLOBO.
Or you can find myself, Paul Sanders, or better known as Bestow TV, at Bestow.tv. On YouTube /Bestow TV, on Twitter at Bestow Prod, PROD, and on Facebook, Bestow TV.
If you want to place an advertisement with this podcast, and gosh, why wouldn't you? We could be talking about you right now. Contact us, Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com. That's MRLOBO @CINEMAINSOMNIA.com. Or support us on Patreon. Patreon supporters get to hear this podcast before anyone else, and a lot of other great stuff, right, Paul?
Sure.
Doesn't get it better than that, right? So come join the fun at
patreon.com/Sleepless Knights Podcast.
That's
patreon.com/Sleepless Knights Podcast.
Please stay up with us next week for another Sleepless Nights podcast. Or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
The best thing about being an insomniac is never having to say goodnight.
Good night.